I am TJ Whitelaw.
And where are you from?
I am from Orangeville, Ontario.
And what's your story?
My story is that I started playing music, which is pretty much when my life started anyways. So I was 11 and I saw my sister doing it and I was like super impressionable. So I was like, I want to do that too. And so fast forward 11 years and I'm here. That's pretty much it. Just been playing as much as possible for that amount of time.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when did you first start listening to music? Was it the same time or?
I feel like we're all everybody's subject to listening to music until you get to a certain age where you're sort of you choose your own things to listen to. So I was probably around 11 or 12 when I made that choice to actually actively listen and not just be there hearing it.
Yeah. So would you say that's like when you started tuning into the music scene?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
And what was your first instrument?
It was guitar. And then it was like a mix between piano and guitar, but I chose guitar first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piano by force?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
And when did you start writing?
When I became proficient enough to be able to translate ideas musically. So I think I was like 13 maybe. Yeah, that was when I started writing songs and just snippets of ideas, 13-year-old ideas. Not super like intense or anything, but yeah, that's probably when I started, I think. Yeah.
So would you say your first song was during that 13 period, or?
Yeah, it was about, I think the first full song that I wrote was, I was 14. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that about and why did you write it?
That was about, I think, it was with a friend actually I finished it with. His uncle had cancer and I think he showed me something and then I was like, hey, we should write a song with this idea. And so we built up, I wrote some string parts for it and I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a little keyboard and I was writing stuff and it turned out that it just became this 4.5 minute song that was super special to him and I, and yeah, so that was the first full thing that we did. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
When did you first perform an original song?
I think it was 15. Yeah, I was 15. Yeah.
And what was the feelings around that? Were you nervous or?
Yeah. Super nervous. It's you can go out and play covers and stuff and you don't feel, you're not as emotionally attached to it. You know, you can sort of separate yourself from it, even if it's a beautiful song and something that speaks to you. It's when it comes from within you, it's a whole other feeling of nervousness. It's pretty crazy. It's like a peering into your subconscious. It's weird.
Just kind of raw and out there?
Yeah, so it is super nerve-wracking for me.
So, why music? What drew you to it?
I think what drew me to it originally was something to sort of fit in a way. I was not a popular child, I guess, in school. I mean, everyone was always nice to me, but I was a bigger kid, and sometimes kids can bully you, and so I found it as a vessel for my pre-adolescent feelings to be transmitted to. So it helped a lot. So that's when I got into it. Yeah.
So it really helped you, in terms of what it means to you?
Yeah.
It really helped you find yourself, would you say?
Yeah, it helped craft myself for sure. Yeah.
Some people say that folk music is dead. Would you agree? And do you think that folk music is important? So any kind of area of that, because
important.
Yeah. Important. I do think it is important. I was thinking today about what folk is, and I think I came to a conclusion and why it's important as to, I think it's the sound of not having a lot. I think it's sort of like, it comes from blues and folk and anything to do with that whole like almost melancholy sort of feelings, or any type of feeling really. I feel like that it makes it important, and people listen to it and they can feel it even more, because everybody gets down and everybody feels those things, and I feel like it's the most organic way to get those messages across. Yeah, and I don't think it's dead, because I mean, there's always going to be struggle, and there's always going to be people with not a lot of things, and they're going to find a way to tell their story and share their feelings musically. Yeah.
Where do you live, and what would you say your life is like?
Okay, yeah. I live in Orangeville, but I play mainly everywhere around except Orangeville. So it's funny. My life is like, it's very hectic and very, it's kind of abstract. I never know what I'm doing. Every day is a different thing. It's always like, come here, do this, you gotta play here, you gotta play here, or you gotta stay at home one day, or a week or two, or you're out for 2 weeks. It's always up in the air. I never have any like future really. After 2 weeks is as far as I could see. That's pretty much how my life is.
And do you have a sort of a routine then at all, or what would you say a daily routine is compared to either a month or a year?
Yeah, daily routine is like, I always try to practice from an hour to, depending on if you have a gig or not or something, 1 to 6 hours is usually like my thing. So like, I'll get up, practice, learn the songs I have to play that night, or go over songs I have to learn for the next day. That's mainly my routine, is just wake up, coffee, and then music. Yeah.
And so you just kind of repeat that month to month,
yeah,
and then that
pretty much.
summation? Okay.
Yeah.
And more on the creative side, what would you say your process is?
It's an interesting question. I think my process is that as a person I look at guitar as my voice, and so I want to be able to craft my voice to be able to say whatever I want to say. So I focused a lot on practicing, and when I write, I feel like it's mainly when I get fed up with how bad I am, and so that frustration and all those emotions sort of, I like to put it down and try and translate it into a song or an idea of a song.
What makes you a creative person?
I think for somebody to be creative, I think it's inherent. I think everybody is creative. It's what you translate it into. So, whether it be like art or music or photography or film, I think that what makes you a creative person is just everything you've experienced and finding a way to get it out of your head. And everybody has something or experiences something that sort of flips that switch, and like, I need to pursue this creative thing because it helps me as a person. So I think everybody's got it, and it just depends on when you figure out that you have it, and what you can do to translate it into something visual or oral or whatever. Yeah.
And what would you say is the hardest part about being a musician?
That's a good question.
Take your time, you can think about it.
Yeah, I think I remember I heard this interview with Billy Joel, and he said music is like this mistress that is always there. So you can have people around you, and whether it be like a partner or a good friend, if they don't play music or if they're not in the scene and like into your career or what you're doing, it can be very lonesome. And whatever you do, I think he said, you always go back to it, irregardless of what else is going on in your life. So I think that's the hardest part, is always being drawn away from people back into a thing, but it's so fulfilling that you can't get rid of it. It's always got to be there, or else you are not who you are, I think. Yeah, that's the hardest part. Yeah.
That's great. I really like that answer.
Crying.
Yeah, that's good. Within music, what's your preference in terms of writing, practicing, performing, or recording?
Definitely performing. Yeah. It's just an energy thing. When you're alone in a booth doing something, it's like sort of stagnant until you get out there and you experience things. People experiencing your music and you feed off. It's a mutual exchange. You know, like I'm here pouring my soul to you, and you take it however you like, and I'm gonna be affected by how you just see it. So that's why it's my favorite. Yeah.
And what would you say is either your main inspiration, or where do you draw your inspirations from?
Wow. I am constantly inspired by other people. I don't look within for inspiration, and maybe that's different than a lot of people. But I try to look outward because, you know, there's so many great people and like musically or otherwise, just trying to draw it from every walk of life. And go to the store and you see somebody who's really nice to you held the door or something, like that inspires me to be a better person, which translates into music, which is, you know, who I am anyways. So I think it's everything. It's all encompassing. Yeah.
And if you can, could you describe what inspiration feels like just within yourself?
Yeah. I don't want to make it sound cliche, but it's sort of like, it's like these little embers that are sort of there, and they're always, and you gotta stoke them sometimes by, whether that might be going to a concert or, you know, inspiration could sometimes be like a failure. Like you mess up at a gig or something, or, you know, you don't play your song right, or you forget lyrics to something. Like that would inspire you to not do that again. And I feel like that has a lot to do with it.
So what's it like to channel your inspiration and put it into a song?
For me, I don't like, you know, introspectively say like, oh, I'm so inspired right now, I gotta go write this. It's more like, I have to go write this, regardless of if I'm thinking I'm inspired or not. I feel like it's sort of like unbeknownst to me, I need to do this thing right now because there's something inside me that's telling me I have to. And I guess that's what inspiration kind of is. But yeah, that's sort of what I look at it as.
So it's more of a calling.
Yeah. It's more, like the mistress thing, like the invisible person calling out to you. Yeah.
And would you say that there's a theme throughout your music at all?
It's definitely a lot sadder than I am as a person. I feel like because I don't really emote sadness that much, I always try to be happy. The theme in my music is there's always there's a lot of somberness in it. Is that a word? Sure. You're going to call that a word. Yeah, I think that's like the main theme, is there's always a little bit of sad.
And so for yourself, would you say it's sort of about just bringing out a side of you that you can't share in another way?
Yeah, definitely I would say that. I think it's always a confidence thing too, and all songwriters I think feel that. All songwriters and singers and everybody really, yeah, definitely.
If you had a chance to play one original song, what would it be?
It would probably be. I wrote this one tune about almost 8 years ago, I guess. Yeah. Called Electric Echoes, and it was a silly name, and I regret naming it that, but it was an instrumental song, and that song was the embodiment of how I was feeling at that age. I think I was way overstimulated in my head by life and being judged a lot, and so I think that would be the one song that I'd love to do. But it's a big song, with a string quartet and stuff, and it'd be hard to do, but I'd love to do that one day.
So what does that song mean to you?
That song was, I improvised it, really. I didn't have anything prepared, but it's that thing where you take a feeling and you try and translate it. And that was what I was feeling at the time. It's just like...
A musical train of thought?
Yeah. It was like I have some anxiety, so there you go. That's what that was.
Great. On a different note, looking forward into the future, what about the future excites you in terms of your music?
The ability in which, or I guess the time that I have to be able to do all that I want to. And that can be really exciting, and it can also be really saddening. You only have so much time, but you want to get as much as you can out of yourself. I think by getting older, you experience more, so you're going to have way more to say musically. So it's exciting, and it's also really scary and anxiety ridden, but you've always got it, so you're always going to be doing it. So that's what's exciting to me, yeah.
So on that note, is there anything that you want to kind of share at the end of this interview that you think would be either beneficial to you or to someone watching?
Yeah. When you're talking about music, and people talk about pop music all the time, and I love folk because it literally, the judgment factor in folk is not there. Where in almost any genre you can think of, it's there. There's always somebody that's going to be judging your song, and judging you as a person by judging that song. So I think to say to somebody, or even me, it's sometimes you have to remind yourself that as long as you're genuine in how you feel, and you're not just writing for someone else, but you're writing for yourself, then it'll always come across genuine. You're always going to have people listen to you. That's all I probably want to say.